We are live.
All right. Good evening. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining in. This is our show as a part of Z Shots or Z Live, we call it. And here we bring experts, entrepreneurs, academicians to discuss their views and insights on emerging technology. And we have our audience, which are joining in from all across India, and some of the people joining in from different parts of the country as well. And today we have a very interesting topic, which is bridging the gap between industry and academia, and what are the challenges. And two interesting set of people joining in. One is a professor, second is an entrepreneur turned investor. So, quick introduction about you, gentlemen, starting with Professor Vidhi Podar.
Hi there. Thanks, Aman, for the opportunity. My name is Vidi or Vidya Sagar, my full name. I go with the short version in Australia. I was born and brought up in Maharashtra, and I've been in Australia for the last 20 years. I work at Curtin University, and I'm also the director of Blockchain Research and Development Lab. Most of the work that we do in the lab is quite closely engaged with industry. We try to bridge that gap by getting our researchers and our students, undergrad, postgrad, to work closely on projects with the industry.
Great. How about you, Mr. Sushil?
So good, yeah. So I was a dropout. I failed I passed 10th and 12th by grace. Fortunate enough to enter into entrepreneurship in 2006. I was very, in my school times, I was very concerned about the teachers and the principals, but eventually ended up starting up an IT company focusing on education vertical. So from 2006 till today, we have an IT company which is doing a ERP or a administrative automation for institutes in India and outside India. So had a wonderful experience working in education in different technologies. I've seen a lot of ins and outs of the industry. At the same time, now we are a venture capitalist, so we have a lot of ideas from different fraternities coming up. Specifically, as my experience was in education, that's the area I love to work with. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much. I think I'm also an engineer by chance, and engineering just happened because of the societal and family pressure. And rest, I think I've learned most of the major subjects after the engineering. So my question is possibly open for both of you. India is known for an engineering land, and it has about 10,000 plus engineering colleges, close to 15 lakh engineers graduating every year. And 97% of them are not fit to work in IT companies. And certain skills which are not being taught in schools and colleges are being recruited by the industries and the software companies. So where are we leading? And of course, post-COVID world, we are not really sure what's going to happen. The offices are of no value. So my question to you, both of you, is engineering being still looked at from a conventional perspective, and reskilling and upskilling is still only the concept which is limited to the software world and not being taught in schools and colleges? And most of them are unemployed and unpaid, or their skills are not even being utilized in the IT companies.
So definitely, it's a wonderful question, and I think it needs to be answered immediately, because when we were kids, people used to say that I'm an engineer banunga, doctor banunga, and I think that's the biggest challenge which now most of the people are facing. One interesting topic which I want to share at this place is that I'm also been a part of a Niti Aayog, which was earlier known as a planning commission, working with education vertical on innovation ideas. So what I believe is that eventually these engineering colleges by and large has become a traditional in their approach, and it was true that industry was not accepting the output which the colleges were producing, and now it was a time when they need to become a proper hub, the innovation hub, the incubation center, or the entrepreneurship, or the exposure. So I think by and large, government as well as the colleges are working very closely to set up a incubation or give them a practical integration, which we are any which ways are talking. So I think people are working, and I think government and the colleges need to work very closely if at all they want to come back to their position what they were earlier.
I'll
Vidhi,
come back
please.
to you on this. I'll come back to you on this because I definitely have a point. If everyone become a creator, then who will be the consumer? Professor Vidhi, you come from an academia, so what is being missing over there that the industry is not able to recruit the right set of a talent?
Yeah, I think recruitment has been a challenge in India and even in Australia. What we see is industry demands some specific skills from students, and universities were struggling to do that in the past. Things have started to improve now, and I can give you the example of Curtin, where what we are doing is we are offering opportunities for students to take on multiple internships throughout their degree. So what that gives them is it gives them the opportunity to work with industry from the first semester itself. So they finish the first semester of their undergrad degree, or if they're doing a master's, then there. And we try to connect them with industry to on internships right away. So throughout their degree, within 6 semesters or 3 years, they get the opportunity to work with 6 different companies. And what we try to do is we also get them to work on connect them with different types of industry, so they get more and more broader exposure. It's not just they're working in finance, but finance, manufacturing, mining, oil and gas, all different types of industries we try to connect them with. And I think that is changing the talent, and it is helping the students to build up their soft skills and professional skills that industry or companies are looking for. And it is something that is not actively part of the curriculum, but through these internships and through some workshops that we conduct within the universities, we are training our students to build up these core skills that is going to help them to be more employable after their studies.
So the question comes out to be here is, what are the skills of a future? Everyone is uploading the certificates on LinkedIn, and a lot of people have started gathering certificate, not skills. So my real question and real worry here is, what are the skills of future we are looking at? Of course, we talk about artificial intelligence, blockchain, and all these things. But as somebody who wanted to get associated as an investor or possibly hire a talent, Mr. Sushil, what kind of skills do you think would be suitable in a candidate or in an organization working towards that?
So, Aman, first thing is I will come back to first I was saying earlier that, the colleges needs to come with more of innovation spaces. That is one. And one part which I wanted to mention here is a mentorship. So I believe is that any student with whatever talent they come up, because you will see everybody knows that best of the industrialists have come up who are the dropouts in the industry. Whether you talk the best of the startups or a regular industry in global market. So what I believe is the mentorship plays a big role here, and mentorship does not come only from the college side; it should come from the industry side also. So one, definitely once the government jobs have been reduced, now there are more of a private job. So I think alumni association has to play a big role. That is one. Why I'm saying you is that you said what kind of skills are needed. I believe that there is a job, there is a fixed activity for everybody in the college whosoever is passing out. If you have a right mentorship, if you have a right connect with the industry, the best way to do it is to get the best alumni connect within the college and the industry connect, obviously. But it is easier because if you have an emotional aspect, so there is a job for everybody. If within the college period, what Professor Vidhi was saying that within the college, if from the second year, third year, if you have a good internship or good industrial relationship, that will help. But eventually, it is there is a job for everybody. Whether it's an engineer or a medical professional, anybody for that matter of fact. Yes, I hope I have answered.
Definitely there is a job. Yeah, absolutely, there is a job for everybody. But I still have a big question on what kind of jobs. There are about 46,000 game developers which are required. There are about 1 lakh blockchain plus crypto skills which are required in the world. There are about close to 2.3 million AI plus machine learning jobs which are required. But on the other hand, there is a lot of supply which is being coming into the market. The demand is there, but there is a big gap. You talked about mentorship. I would take this as a one point that mentorship can definitely bridge that gap. But I wanted to understand, if we already know that these are the future skills, then why in the college days we are not being taught. I mean, possibly you and I have studied the same books because of the generation gap, and the new generation would be studying the same books as well, or the same concept, which is of possibly no value to the market.
So you see, it's very simple. When you and me, common person, can understand what kind of jobs are coming, which are the future for the market. So I think it's just that their colleges need to be more proactive, and they have to have a right kind of advisory from the industrial side. What is the topic today? And I'm a part of at least 5 colleges as a advisor to them, as an honorary advisor to them. So I think that makes it more easier, because they know what is the requirement, and then with whatever courses which government is putting you to do, you can always come up with the additional activity which students willfully accept it and they do it. So I think it's just that the college needs to be more proactive in this case.
Yeah, I think
Professor Vidhi, do you have anything to add? Yes.
yeah, I think what Sushil says makes sense, and we in fact do that. So we have an industry advisory board for the school. And we get people, we have very senior industry veterans who are part of that board, and they guide us in developing or provide insights into what the courses should be that we should develop. We get continuous feedback from them, and they are actively involved in the creation of the courses. So that is one thing. The second thing that we do quite well is also get industry to come and deliver guest lectures on a very regular basis. And what we're also trying to do is to get people on more of a regular contract rather than just a guest lecturer. So somebody who is working in the industry, especially this works very well for the MBA program that we run, because that's based in the city. So it is very convenient for people from the industry, from the CBD, just hop on a bus and get onto the campus in the city and deliver their lecture.
So do you think that the industry? Yes, please.
So I have a one point, Vidhi. I want to take your inputs in this. That I have seen there is a big reservation from the faculties. I'm saying that I'm not talking about Delhi and Bombay, but at rest of the colleges where I've seen, there is a big resistance from the faculty members, because they are the ones who are not very much aware about the terminologies and the latest job options. So I think not only with the students, I think there is a big workshop needs to be done with the faculty as well, to let them accept about what is needed, so that they can deliver within their course. When they're teaching, they can also guide the students accordingly. That's my opinion and observation. Vidhi, I want your input in this.
Yeah. I think I fully agree with that. And we have a program so internships are not only limited to students, they should be extended to faculty members as well. And within Curtin, we have a program which is called as academic study. We call it ASL, academic study leave. And that is an opportunity for academics to go. We get a 1-year leave after, I think it's 3 years of work. And we have 1 year to go and work with either at any other university or with the industry. So a lot of academics are now taking on that opportunity to go and work in the industry. So 1 year of industry experience every 3 years kind of keeps them up to date with the latest happenings in the industry.
No, absolutely. I was about to touch this point as well, that faculty is lacking industrial exposure, and there can be a skill gap, a performance gap, and definitely it can be an employability gap as well once the students become the future employers of what you call the future candidates to work in the organization. But still the big question comes over here is, the industry experts are coming to teach possibly for a workshop or possibly for a small duration of a time. But the curriculum is still not revised yet. What do you think about it? The curriculum is still not updated, and we are still seeing a lot of a gap in terms of curriculum updation, and the futuristic skills are not being taught at the schools or the college level, which it could have been included in the curriculum itself. Just a second.
Okay. So I think that's a good question. And the way we are handling, are you live? Are you there, Aman? Can you hear us?
I am here. Just fixing my camera.
Please. Yeah. All right. So I'll go on. So what we are doing to address that specific problem is we are coming up with ideas of stackable credentials. So what that means is we offer small. We start with some. If it's a really brand new topic, an emerging topic, we will run say 2-day workshop, and that will give credits to students who are then come to pursue any degree. So stackable credentials. So we start with micro credentials, mini credentials. We also have a micro masters. So that is addressing that very problem of a curriculum not being up to date. Because bringing I don't know about India, but in here, changing a curriculum is quite an extensive exercise. So we have to go through a lot of approvals to get that thing happen. So while that is happening, there is a time lag between now and when we will get approval for the new curriculum. So to bridge that gap in that time, we try to run these multi-day, 2-day workshops or week-long workshops that address a specific problem and give them that new knowledge. And there's also one more thing that I would like to add here is Australian government runs a program called as a New Colombo Plan, NCP. I'm not sure whether you are aware or not, but it is a very good opportunity for students to travel to a different country. And India is included in that country. So we could get a group of Australian students to visit Indian universities or Indian companies to give them that exposure to new technology and new knowledge. So there are many things that we are trying to do to address that very problem.
No, this is interesting.
Aman,
Yes, please.
Aman, this is very very important. What we see that the colleges need to be proactive, and Vidhi sir, I would agree that you have been doing. But what we do in a year and what we do in a 2 days or a 5 days workshop is tough. So what I believe is that these interactions should not be more of an interaction. It should be a proper part of the activities as a curriculum. So what I believe is that these activities should be more of a giving a direction to the faculty members. That is the reason I said that faculty needs to work very closely with the industries so that they know what to do, what not to do. And I have definitely no experience about your country, but yes, when I say about Indian market, I believe that government is going to take. So we should not wait for the government to change the curriculum. We should add on the latest available courses for the market. At the same time, international or exposure is a very, very important component, which I believe is been missing component with the colleges. So exposure and as what I said is a mentorship is a very, very important component, whether they travel, have a bilateral relationship with any university, or student can be promoted to go for a ISEC internship. ISEC, I don't know whether you're familiar with ISEC. It's a youth-run biggest organization for a student internship. So I think there are a lot of such activities needs to be promoted within the colleges or strategical relationship, which will eventually bring a lot of value addition and people will create a milestone. And I think that will be a good direction for the student by and large.
And
no, absolutely. See, I always yes. Go ahead.
So one more thing to add is we often get a lot of queries from students that they would want to come and do an internship for 3 months in between their semesters, and we welcome such requests from students from all around the world. And when possible, we also provide them with some funding so that it can cover their at least living expenses while they are here.
Yes, no, agree. That's definitely a great idea. So my question over here is, see, unemployability and academia is always questioning each other, that we have a slow job market, and it becomes definitely a grave for our country because it leads to slow economic growth and different other things as well. So now we are experiencing through a pandemic, and we are not really sure that how the situations will be in India back to normal. My question to you is, the online WhatsApp universities are picking up. So Mr. Sushil, what do you think would be the future world look like post-COVID? So now people have started calling BC as before COVID and AD as after disruption, which COVID has created. So yes, go ahead.
So, to be honest, I think by and large people were not accepted. They were not, accepting the market initially. But education industry by and large now had accepted it very clearly that this is a long process, not a 1 day, 2 days, or a week's process. And as the IT industry was also not prepared for such kind of response from the market, and because you have to work from home, the efficiency also get reduced a bit. So I think within next 2 to 3 weeks, I am expecting at least 15 to 20 new tech based solutions will come in the market. Few of them I know one of our partners and the investors is bringing up a product called Airmeet, which is a wonderful product within itself. So I believe market Indian companies are now strong. We can't say that we are no more ready for a product companies. I think people are now prepared. They want to really bring next Google from India. So I think this is not a rocket science. But at the same time, education industry now has accepted it, and I think they're going to use the technology with the largest extent. That is what I believe.
No, absolutely. So I have just before you start answering, Professor Vidhi. So BTech and burst. So if you look at most of the people few years back have started getting into the rat race of getting into IT, BTech or electronic. And the winner of rat race is also a rat, unfortunately. But the question over here is, if you look at some of the top leaders and some of the management leaders, they come with a holistic experience. Some of them I've seen, I mean, Steve Jobs have not even studied IT. And now if you look at most of the board members, they come with philosophy, psychology, economics, and other skills as complementary to the business. How do you think that it plays an important role? And possibly you can combine with the previous question of mine, Professor.
Aman, I didn't really get you. I think you were breaking in between. So could you repeat it once again, the question?
Am I audible?
Yeah, now it's better.
All right. So I was saying BTech and burst. A lot of people have started doing BTech IT, BTech electronic engineering, BTech electrical, and all these tech-oriented or core engineering degrees. And unfortunately, it has become a rat race. And the winner of a rat race is also a rat. But if you look at some of the top leaders and management leaders, they come with a comprehensive skill set of philosophy, psychology, economics, finance. And I think you require more humanly skills rather than just being a robot in the organization. So I just wanted to understand people who are doing engineering, what is the exposure for them? Of course, one is in terms of an industry. Second is in terms of a holistic skill set, which can make them more humanly and be prepared for the future of work.
Yeah, I think I would definitely say that you need to have an holistic approach towards during your studies. And what probably Sushil, I will talk to you about this later. But we have one project going on within the university. It's called as employability. Yep. And so what we're doing there is we are trying to nurture students with not just the technical skills, but all the other soft skills and professional skills that they need to be successful within organizations. So we are trying to help them nurture their creative thinking, their entrepreneurship ability, to try to let them think outside the box rather than, I mean, when we hire someone, we know that they would be good in their technical skills anyway. So we don't need to really kind of test them. But what we need to see is what that person is, how is it, what is a holistic value that person would bring to the organization. But assessing that whether those capabilities are really there or not in them is a challenge that we find at the moment. I mean, for my lab, I'm looking to recruit over 10 or 15 interns over the next year, and finding the right talent to fill that gap is I'm still struggling to do that.
All right. So do you have a point to make, Mr. Sushil, on this?
Yeah, definitely. Aman, what I will come back to the same point. As you said, the beyond the rat race. So I think beyond the rat race is not for the mass. It is only for the class of the people. And yes, whether you want to do good in business or you want to do good in job, you have to be very smart, because the technology nowadays is changing. So it's no more a technology. You have to be a mix, and adapting the latest technology, adapting the latest environment, the industry, and everything. So I think I would say that, let's the people who want to do something bigger, I don't recommend them to go only technology. It is much larger. It is more of a vision. It is more of a psychology. It's so many things which is needed. So if anybody is not in a rat race, they must have to think something different. That's
No,
what I want
absolutely.
to add.
So, like I said, I'm an IT engineer, and engineering just happened to me by chance. And I started
Yes.
reading blockchain like a storytelling exercise. So, I looked at from economic evolution, I looked at finance, I looked at philosophy, psychology, and it became so interesting to learn about blockchain and started looking at the combination. So, I call
So
the holy trinity right now, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, as blockchain, AI, IoT, which will disrupt
True.
different industries. So that's my take on it. So yes, you were saying
Mhm.
something. Please go ahead.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm done from my side. Yeah.
Yeah, Professor Vidhi. So my another question to you is: India has recently tripled what you call the research or R&D expenditure, which used to happen on the budget allocation, from
Uh-huh.
24,000 crore to now we have close to 1 lakh crore plus. And the country is still not being very much research oriented, and of course Australia
Mhm.
has much more than that, and people are more towards R&D and started looking at the different innovations or practices which can be evolved or can be beneficial both for the industry and the consumer. So what is your take on it, or what do you have to make a point in terms of somebody who's looking at in exploring the research as an opportunity or a career trajectory?
Okay. I mean, I've been involved in collaboration with a number of Indian universities. In fact, Curtin has a joint PhD program with IITs. So IIT Madras, Kharagpur, Kanpur, all the old IITs, we have a joint PhD program. With that, we are kind of getting into the research front with the top universities. But also a number of government initiatives, Indian government initiatives to drive research have been very successful. So there was one program called as the Gyan program, wherein the Ministry of HRD Ministry provided funds to universities, Indian universities, to get foreign experts for a period of 5 or 10 days to run extensive workshops. So I have done one such program in the past. Similarly, new programs have come up, like Vajra is another program, Stride, Spark. All these programs are very much research driven, where you have to pitch in a project for funding. And one interesting thing about this, which is that all these projects, all these programs by the Indian government are requesting proposals that address a socio-economic problem. So it is not just pure fundamental research that is being funded through these programs, but it is something that has real applications right away. So we do complete a research project, we deliver something, and that could be implemented right then and there. So that is one thing from the funding perspective. So when you said that the research funds have increased threefold, I'm not surprised, because I've seen that change over the last decade. For those who are planning to take on a research trajectory or a research career, I would say that research is a skill, and what we're teaching PhD students is, or what we're training as part of a PhD exercise, is the ability to solve problems. So we are making you a problem solver, and having that thought or having that thinking in mind opens up your opportunities. Because in the past, a lot of PhD students or academics thought that if I do a PhD, I have to be I have to only work in the university. So that concept or that thinking has to change, and we are trying to change that. So whenever I say to my students who are currently pursuing PhD that I'm not teaching you to be an academic, I'm teaching you to pick up a problem, find out how you can solve it. There could be many different ways in which you could solve that problem, and then solve it. Yeah, and then that experience or that skill of problem solving is what is a PhD. Yeah, PhD is not about writing like 100 pages of thesis or not. That
But
PhD,
my only question over here is: do I need to do a PhD to showcase my skill set of becoming a problem solver? Because there is a dichotomy over there.
Definitely not. But what PhD gives you is a very systematic way to look at a problem, evaluate different solutions, come up with your own solution. So it is a structured training exercise. That's what I would say.
It gives you a discipline to stay with the problem, focus, and solve it. Yes, please, Mr. Sushil Sharma.
So, Aman, I have a very different opinion here. I believe that government has increased the budget, and which, according to me, believes that government has made up its mind to start a innovations at root kind of model. It is more of a culture which government is trying to build. At the very beginning, when you started, you said Australia probably have more innovations than compared to India, because for us, when we have graduated, we have learned only the PhDs, the people who do the research. Rest of the people are only the learners. So what I believe is, and I'm seeing that the innovation or the research is now going at a roots when they're starting projects in the schools and in the colleges. So I believe the government's motive is very clear in India. They've been trying to have innovation at root. It is a culture which they are trying to build. And I think that is very important at this point of time. That is what I have to say, Aman.
Yeah. And one more thing I would like to add to that.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing I would like to add is when you're thinking of doing a PhD, don't think it is only academic problem.
True.
Yeah,
true.
Select a problem that has a social and economic or even environmental value. So when you complete your PhD, think about how you could commercialize your PhD. So you're going to spend 3 or 4 years of your life studying on a small niche area. Don't just do it for the sake of doing PhD. Everyone does a PhD for the sake of doing it, getting the doctor title. But what is it that you can do more than that?
So, sir, it is the same thing. What I'm trying to tell is that when you, till the time you graduate, it's only a one way. You learn, and learn. You do not learn to innovate or think from your own side. So I think this is a different culture which is coming up. We recently got a initiative. We have been a part of an initiative called ACIC, which is the Atal Community Innovation Center. So government is now doing a PPP model also to collaborate with the industries to start this culture in the schools and the colleges. I think this is a wonderful initiative. I really appreciate this kind of culture, and hopefully it will bring a lot of innovations in India.
Yeah, that's what. So that's what my point is. We need to bring the innovation from classrooms to commercial. So once it starts happening, then we all become the creators of technology in a more meaningful manner. So I've been reading about the benefits of working from home. This is a question for both of you. But what are the challenges? See, from working from cubicles now, it's cuts and shorts. I mean, I possibly might be wearing a pajama under my blazer over here, but there are a lot of questions in terms of ethics as well. So I wanted to understand from your viewpoint that what do you think that future of work? And of course, if I look back, I've been traveling a lot from last 2.5, 3 years. But if I question myself right now, that was there a need of so much travel earlier? Because things are being more convenient and relevant at this point in time. So just wanted to understand what could be the challenges once we all start working from home and the virtual activity or digitization.
I think, I've tried to answer this question on a number of forums in the last month or so. I actually enjoy this experience working from home, to be frank. And it may be because of my job as well. I don't have any teaching duties. Most of my work is research driven or projects that I handle. So, in fact, I feel I don't need to get up early in the morning, don't have to spend half an hour stuck in the traffic, then looking for a parking and nothing. So just wake up, have a cup of tea, start work. It's as simple as that. Whenever I want to take a break, I can take a break. So one thing that I've come to realize is that online interactions, which were there in the past as well, but in this due to COVID, it has become like part of your life. I mean, you can easily come online, have meetings. I don't know how many different tools I have learned to use Zoom, WebEx, Collaborate, GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting. The list goes on and on. Go Meet. Facebook has started something new. So to be frank, I think this thing, the thing that you mentioned, BC and AD. So when the journey from BC to AD for education sector is going to be it's challenging once we come out of that, because people will question, students will question, as we really need some interesting and engaging content. People are doing, students are studying a lot now on, say, Udemy, Coursera, or many other platforms like that. And the content there is really sometimes very much engaging than what we kind of teach students in the class. So the question is going to be, how are you going to entertain me in the university? Learning is definitely going to happen, but how are you going to make it enjoyable?
No, absolutely. Very relevant point. So you talked about traffic, and also you definitely need to look at Bangalore and Delhi. Usually book for a dinner and end up having a dessert in the restaurant. So that's the kind of a challenge we are looking at. But if the real question over here, which I'm still unable to answer myself, is what are the challenges do you think in terms of working from home or future of work as a digitization start picking up? And you rightly pointed it out that WebEx, Zoom, and all these platforms. So the distance between a teacher and a student in a classroom is now being filled by a different platform. But there is now a challenge of an attention and different other questions, because you still have a what you call a fear point that the teacher is standing. If you might be sleeping in the classroom, you might get poked around it. But in the virtual platform, you do not really have a visibility, and deepfakes and all these things are coming up. So the challenges are still are there, and there are possibly 90 pros. There could be 10 cons which we need to look into. So my question was on the 10 cons to answer from your point.
Aman, are you married?
Unfortunately not.
So the biggest challenge which I feel is there are many marriages which are on risk. Well, anyways, to be very precise, I believe, I don't know, Aman, whether you will understand the one terminology called aura. So I think the aura is very important in a working culture. I think with this virtual working, discipline, resources, other things we look at in a good way. I believe the aura is a very big missing component which we will be realizing very soon. That is one. But one very important thing which we have to learn and which we have to implement is we have to get more working hubs rather than only being in Bangalore or in Pune or in Bombay. India has to be structured in a way that we have more working hubs, because it is, at the end of the day, you have to create the similar aura. Because people have now realized that you have to really work on traffic is a big challenge, but at the same time aura is a big issue. I think working from home will not be the long-term perspective. Eventually we have to come back to office. We have to have, it's a teamwork. It is a lot of other things needs to be created. It's about motivations. There's so many factors. I think the virtual is only for 6 months. After that we have to find out the better way. Rather than being working in some spaces, we have to create more clusters for industries and from the technology end, and that is what is my comment.
Absolutely, I agree that we will go back to the normal, but my still big question remains unanswered is, Professor Vidhi, what will be the role of physical universities? Would they turn up into a hybrid model, the combination of theoretical plus practical approaches happen? Because I'm not really sure. I mean, look at country like India and United States. We are not sure. And MIT, over the last 10 years, the number of people they have graduated, they have been able to sell the online courses in possibly 7 months, equal to the numbers. So what will happen and what will be the role of physical universities as we go further?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting question, and something that universities ponder quite a lot, and they will probably even more now. Going into the future, I think universities, the university will not be just places for learning. It would be places for grooming. So students would come and they can equally learn anything. They could join a course from MIT or any other university and learn the technical skills. But what I think the role of universities would be is how they groom the students to be ready for work or ready for an enterprise or starting their entrepreneurship journey. So it would. What I also think is it would be somewhere like we have started now that industries and companies are setting up offices on campus. So it would be that students might actually start working from day one and they attend lectures in the evening. We might have a completely different approach to learning. It could be, we call that work integrated learning or immersive learning, where students are placed in organizations. At the moment, it is not, at the moment, it is only a part of the curriculum, but there is nothing stopping us from making that the main part. You start working, you finish your 12th standard, you get a job, and on job you learn what is required within the organization. At the same time, pick up technical skills along the way. It could be a completely flipped model going into the future.
No, absolutely. See, we possibly would not see the stepwise approach because we recently did a course with Zubi, artificial intelligence for young champs, wherein people from age group from 8 to 17 have joined in. And we have seen a lot of people within the age group of 8 to 12 have started taking a lot of an interest, and this was a project focused approach. So I agree that it has to become a combination of theoretical and practical approaches. And we may or may not see the what you call stepwise approach, which possibly your generation, my generation have been through in the schools and universities, that you have a class-wise approach. Now people are more rebel of this education model and wanted to have some sort of flexibility that whatever PhD can learn at after the college, why not I can learn it at the early age. So coming back to the other question here is, we are towards the conclusion of this session, is what do you look for, Mr. Sushil, when you are typically investing in a startup? What is the matrix you consider when somebody is pitching to you?
You wanted to get my answer with reference to education vertical, or
it could be relevant to education, or you can have an openness to the answer as well.
So, Aman, to be honest, I still believe that the passion of the person, founder, and the team still plays a biggest role, according to my opinion, the way we invest. And yes, it is more of a technology-based businesses only where we are looking to invest at this point of time. No other hardware or infrastructure-based businesses as on today. And yes, education as a product, we are very optimistic to be a part of it.
Yeah, so I feel the only challenge with the typical universities or the physical universities is you cannot have the Uberization model. I need to attend or enroll for a particular semester, but with the online or virtual classes, I can only pay for the content which I'm consuming or the class which I'm attending. So I think that's the kind of a change which we will see as we go further.
I think it's definitely what last question you asked was what the way I look is education industry in India is going to be more of a hybrid model, and definitely it's more of a technology versus physical, but physical is going to definitely reduce for people, and people are looking for a better and more learning approach as compared to anything else.
Yeah, so another thing which I wanted to add over here is I was reading a few days back, the passion economy is also growing day by day, from writers which are launching their newsletters. And now you have another platform where you can earn, which is a Chinese app. I would not name it. So you have different other things. And if you look at 17 million Americans possibly have contributed to the passion economy, close to $7 to $8 billion independently in 2017. And most people are becoming the content creators because on the other hand, we have consumers. So what do you think about it on this? I mean, the growth of passion economy versus the subscriber growth is also relatively increasing as well.
This is a big business, by the way. And as I said, that the passion is a very important aspect, and this is a different culture which is coming up, right? And I think I'm quite optimistic about it.
Yeah. So I was also reading that from we have artificial intelligence which can tell you stories basis your mood and basis your preference.
True.
So possibly for grannies as well, for people beyond 60s, they would be able to share the stories, and I'm very optimistic to work on it. Yes, Professor Vidhi, what's your views?
Now, I think what you're going to see is these technologies are going to impact our life in very different ways that we have not even imagined yet. We are just probably at the tip of the iceberg in terms of how these technologies are gradually being part of our life. I mean, if you just look at the last 10 years, how things have changed in terms of what was there and what is now. I think it is just phenomenal to see that kind of the growth and the innovations that have entered in this space.
All right, great. So we usually have a trivia towards the conclusion. I just wanted to take a couple of seconds of yours, a couple of minutes. What do you think your life would look like in 2050, considering that you would definitely be on this Mother Earth? How would you start your journey from morning till the evening? Why don't you help us walk through that? Both of you. Anyone can start first.
Aman, that actually reminded me of a joke that I saw online. And there was a question: where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? And that question was asked in 2015. Yeah, and the answer was, nobody would have got that answer correct, because in 2020 we are all stuck at home. So
No,
absolutely.
so
There is
it's
no
a very
right.
Aman.
Yes, please.
So I would answer in two fashion. One, from the angle of profession, which is my suggestion to everybody, specifically the professionals, that today my total investment in different projects is around 12 to 13 projects, and I wanted to increase this in next 10 years. We will have at least 7 to 80 investments. That is what has been planned. So I think after that, we don't have to work for money, for sure. At the same time, we have already taken a large agriculture farm where we wanted to utilize our time with our best of the buddies. That is how we have calculated.
All right,
Cool.
great. So if I talk about my life in 2050, if I would be alive, is from sleep mode to eat mode, I should wake up with a favorite music of mine from Alexa. My personalized breakfast should be ready once I come back from a run. I go to the shower. Definitely the temperature is adjusted, and I come back with a free hand shopping because of the facial recognition. So a lot of technology is infused, and definitely more personalization effect is happening with humans.
Aman, I'm
Yes,
telling
please.
you, once you will cross 60, you would just want to be near to the nature, nothing else.
I absolutely agree. That's very relevant. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll open
Thank
up
you.
for the questions.
Thank you.
We have
Thanks.
just a couple of minutes. We'll open up for the questions and then we'll conclude. We have a question from Khaja Manan, is how we connect with industry to provide internships to engineering students who are from tier 2 cities and tier 3. And usually industry people connect only with universities in tier 1, but not with colleges. Yes, it's a very interesting and relevant question.
So definitely, I think there are more than 20 to 25. First of all, you can reach me on my LinkedIn ID, which is, you can just search Sushil Sharma, Marwadi Catalyst Ventures. And at least I can connect to 10 to 20 people who gives you a industrial connect and the industrial training or the campus ambassador program. You can definitely get in touch. And there are a lot many people. It's just, and by the way, the future for India is tier 2 cities. So don't see this as this is a complete compliment. My focus is tier 2 cities. So don't worry. It's a big way. Just be optimistic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have any point to make, Professor Vidhi?
I think we actually don't face that kind of a problem here, because we have one big city in one state. So that's how Australia is kind of organized. But what we see is we have a lot of students who come from remote parts of the state. And those students kind of get the opportunity to work in farms. So there is a lot of farming, agriculture or agribusiness industry in Western Australia or in and around Perth. And I personally work with a number of farms, especially from a supply chain traceability perspective. So it actually works. It actually works in our favor, because sometimes we have to find people who are willing to go to these remote areas to work.
All right. So I think most of the other questions we've already answered. So One last thing is, Professor Vidhi, do you plan to come back to India and disrupt the different industry from your experience and perspective you have looked at from Australia and living in Australia?
I would definitely would like to come and work with someone. I definitely can't shift there. My family is quite well happy and established here, but I'm more than happy to connect with interesting projects where I can add value.
Great. Thank you so much for joining in. It has been definitely a very interesting and inciting discussion. And I personally have learned a lot from both of you. And we shall stay in touch. And any question which comes offline, I would send it across to both of you. Thank you so much. Please take care and have a lovely day ahead.
Cool.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.